Is this why you need to spend time alone and away from the aquarium when it comes to finding your true identity? Well, yes, it is. The short answer is yes. I don't think it's completely necessary in terms of like spending time away from the aquarium is literally just disconnecting from the engagement of the identities that are in the aquarium. I live in the Pennsylvania mountains, right? People live in the West. They call them the hills of Pennsylvania, but they're fucking mountains to me, right? So I live in the mountains. I go on hikes. I got a hike planned later on this afternoon, a 12-mile hike that I'm looking forward to. It'll be me and my trekking poles in the woods, right? And it's going to be hot. There might be a thunderstorm later. I fucking love it. My feet are going to be fucking killing me. I'm going to be listening to animals, seeing things, running through the wood. Like, it's going to be incredible. That is one of the things that I do to disconnect from the aquarium. But what it is a meditative ritual. And it's meditation that we all need in some form. So I define meditation as a ritual that sort of disconnects and wipes away all the cobwebs of those stories that we can't seem to get out of our minds. Some people have more formal, ritualized meditation sessions. I do a meditation session every morning. Sometimes I switch it up a lot. Right now, lately, I've been doing this 10-minute guided meditation, and it's one of these things that it almost, it's so long as I'm getting the cobweb, job done, what form we're using almost doesn't matter. Some people, where they're at, they need to sort of fill, it's sort of like, I'm going to use the bandwidth analogy for a second, right? If we have 100% of our bandwidth and there's a bunch of stories, almost like files on a computer, right? That slows the computer down. Let's say that 25%, a quarter of our bandwidth are these stories, and we need to get rid of the stories. Some people can meditate and it'll let go of those stories. Some people, they do some form of moving meditation, which, to use the bandwidth metaphor, they need to replace that 25% with something else, almost discarding it as a result. So they need to engage something that by default disengages the other things. It's like, how do you get a baby to let go of something? You hand him something else, and he'll drop that. And it's like, that is how some people need to let go of stuff. And it's a process. Some people need to sort of replace the bandwidth with something else in order to discard that. Some people can go through a purely mental meditative session and process and do the job just the same. Doesn't matter, so long as the cobwebs are disconnected, because after we disconnect all those cobwebs, you're left having a conversation with you, right? And the identity, the voice in your head, the consciousness. There's a lot of different frameworks that people have used to describe this. But I think functionally, how you describe it doesn't matter. It's really just making sure that you are not identifying yourself. Because here's the thing. If I say you disconnect these cobwebs and you're left with you, well, the people who are unaware of this process, they think they are connected to that. Who they are is including that, the things that are, sabotaging or dirtying up their bandwidth. Like, they think that's part of who they are. And, it's like when somebody's worried about, paying the rent. Oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna pay the rent. I'm gonna pay the rent. Now, mind you, a little motivation, a little fear-induced motivation is useful, in certain applications, but there's a certain point where it's like, well, what is it that you can do to pay the rent? I have to work 10-hour shifts every day, or I'm not going to have the money. Can you work 10-hour shifts every day from here to the end of the month? Yes. So what's the fucking worry about? Like, well, as soon as that's resolved, it's like, what's the worry about? But here's the thing, that's an easier pill to accept. The other one, though, a little bit more difficult, is, well, if you work as much as possible, are you going to have the money at the end of the month? And they say no. Then I go, so what are you worried about? because no matter if you try your best, you're still not going to pay it. Like, that's the reality of it. But the whole thing is, we still need to retain that state. Remember, one of my sayings is there's never reason to not be in a good mood. Only the weak mind adds suffering to circumstance. The good mood is a little tongue in cheek in that application, because there is this whole, logic behind what I mean with the bandwidth and a good state and everything. But if I say good mood, that's enough utility for the average person listening to it. But to give you guys the inside scoop, it goes beyond that. It's really, do you have a way by which you can clear your bandwidth?